Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining On the Spot Motorsports with David Rogers. Tonight we have a wonderful guest, Ron Griffiths, runs Top Alcohol Dragster in the NHRA and the Lucas Oil Series Division Two. But first of all, I want to go over a few things this past weekend. Epping up there in New Hampshire, your winners is Mike Salinas, Matt Hagan, and Erica Anders, and that was actually Erica Anders' third time winning straight in a row up there in Epping. But without further ado, we're going to bring on Mr. Griffiths, and then we're also going to talk a little bit near the end of the show about Bristol coming up. Good afternoon, Mr. Griffiths. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How about you?
Doing great. Doing great. I'm glad that you was able to join us tonight and talk a little bit about Alcohol Dragster, how everything got started, and where did it first take off for you?
Well, we started back in the 70s, actually, when I ran Superstock for a while. And then in 1980, I built my first comp car. And then in 85, I built my first dragster. And in 2000, we had the first A-Fuel car. And then we've been in A-Fuel ever since. And it's an interesting class. Gives us a lot of reward, a lot of work, but a little bit of reward, but it's worth it.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about the differences between the nitro dragsters and the alcohol dragsters?
Well, the alcohol dragsters has a blower on it, and they can run with a clutch, a regular pedal clutch, and then with a transmission. Where ours is basically a top fuel car with slip clutch and then no transmission in it, but it's injected. There's no blower on ours and no clutch management. That's to keep us slowed down where we won't be creeping up on the big boys.
Now, you mostly do a lot of racing in the Southeast when y'all are able to, and one of the tracks that y'all go to mostly is right here in Gainesville, Florida, which is right in your backyard.
It sure is. Yeah, we run 2 races here a year. The points race and then the Gators.
What is it like for y'all to have to go back to back, weekends like that, where you run the Lucas Oil Series and then you got to turn around and race the Gators?
It's really not that bad. You're already set up, so that takes a day out of the equation there. And but just as long as you don't mess nothing up, you're fine. You can service it, and then you'll be ready to go for the Gators. And then you don't have to travel. Travel has a lot to do with it too. Like when we used to go to Pittsburgh and Michigan and Tucson and San Antonio and stuff, them distance races, it gets, you got to allow your travel time. Or when you have it just in your own backyard, I don't come back. I usually just stay out there and make sure everything is right for the next weekend.
Now, how did things turn out for y'all this year at the Gators? We were kind of drenched with rain for several days there, and it was pretty miserable, I believe, for the racers.
Yeah, it was miserable for us. That's the worst it's ever been for it. It was 1.5 feet water outside of our trailer door, and I don't know how they got rid of the water. I don't know how they even had a race there, because I've been there going to, actually, my first one I went to was in the early 70s, but I've been racing there since 1980, and I've never seen it that bad before. We got almost 12 inches of rain over that span. And it was, man, what a mess. I went through 2 pairs of shoes that are ruined. You had to usually service the car in just bare feet. But the people next to us, they went to Rural King and bought some waders. I said, they're smart people. They're used to that.
Being the sportsman class, they put y'all pretty much out there on the grass, and it can make for such a mucky situation, trying to get the car in and out and serviced.
We couldn't get it out for 3 days. It was up on the stands. We put it up on the stands because we knew it was coming, so we put it up on the Pro Jacks, and it stayed there till right before we went to ready to run qualify on Friday. It was a mess.
Right. With the qualifying on Friday for y'all, you only got 1 run, correct?
Right, 1 run, and we didn't do too good. We got down the track. We put a tune-up in it that was really, really slow, because I thought, you get A to B because you're going to have a lot of cars, mess up because the track was superb. But I said, we need to go to A to B. A to B is all we need to do. And we went to A to B and qualified 12th. And I was a little bit over on my fuel. We have to run a certain percentage. And I usually top it off when I'm in the staging lanes with a little extra alcohol. And since everything happening and stuff, I forgot it, and that cost us. So we didn't qualify.
Yeah, I tell you, when you're put in that situation, it makes it really tough on everybody, from the drivers to all the way down to the crew members. There's so much prep work going into these races ahead of time, and then find out that you only get one qualifying run, one shot. And there was a lot of big names that did not. Whoop, we just lost him. Let's give him a second, and maybe we can get him back on. But while we're waiting on him to join us back, of course, we had Epping this past weekend, and I tell you what, that Erica Ander team, with Elite Motorsports, they are really on fire. She has now won 4 races this year in Pro Stock.
Okay, we're back.
All right. I was talking about Erica Anders, giving you some time. That she has won 4 races so far this year, and on a great start, probably one of her best starts ever in her career. But since we're back, we'll get back to Alcohol Dragster.
Okay.
But yeah, you only having that one qualifying run. There was some big names that didn't make the field.
I know.
Because of that. Antron Brown was one of them.
Yep.
And
Leah Pruitt wasn't in there either.
That's correct. A lot of big names.
A lot of money didn't make it.
And like you said, in those situations, you just got to try to bent and grare it, and try to make it to point A to point B, and hope that time's good enough to get you in the show.
Yeah, the week before we went a 49, and we said, okay, we're going to slow it down, and we took up more than we should have. I know I shouldn't have done it, what I did, but I did, and it went only like a 92. I said, holy crap. I said, but at least we went A to B,
Right.
And I said, that's what we plan to do.
I think we're just having a little technical difficulties on his end. But, yeah, we're talking a little bit about the Gator Nationals and what happened for Ron Griffiths there with the weather. Again, I had talked about this before on the show earlier after the Gators, that the track temperature started getting so cold out there. The track temperature was actually 64 degrees as they were trying to run the Pro Stock motorcycles. And then they tried to move on and they talked to the Pro Mod guys because of changing track temperature because of the weather. And they decided not even to chance it, to just go ahead and go off the points, for Pro Mod. But, yeah, it's just one of those things. At least every racer is faced with it. When they have that issue, it's not just on you, but everyone that's trying to make the field. We'll give Mr. Griffiths just a second and see if it will, see if he can get right back on. When we do these things, sometimes we have a little bit of technical difficulties from time to time. Hey, it's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, I know. I hope we can make it through this.
Well,
mine ends okay, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I checked it before, we went on the air, and I should have had a good enough connection,
Yeah, everything was working fine. Like I just told the viewers, sometimes with all this electronics and stuff, we have some issues from time to time, and I'm used to it, so I'm able to just grasp it and just keep on going with the flow. But I wanted to talk to you about some of your sponsors that come in and help you out with some of the stuff that your components for your engines. So anyway, we'll let him try to get on. But trying to talk to him a little bit about the components that he uses in his engine, from his rods and his pistons, the bottom end stuff and top end. There we go. Yeah, we're talking about your sponsors a little bit that help you out with your parts for your
Right.
bottom end and stuff. And tell us a little bit about the rods that you use in your car.
Okay, they're Lightning Connecting Rods Company. He's out of St. Pete. Name is Stacy King. He is the man. He helps. He us makes oil. He supplies our oil for us, and he's a major contributor to us. His oil is so. I had a Lucas Oil sponsorship like for 3.5 years, and I use them forever. And he's brought me the product. He said, "I'm not begging you to try it or nothing like that. You just give it a shot." And I did it, and we were kind of chewing bearings up a little bit. I put his oil in there, it quit. And I can't believe today's technology and stuff, that somebody can be that much better than everybody else. But Lightning Connecting Rods is the name of the company, and he is an awesome guy too. And then
Do they also specialize in other type engines and stuff with their rods and everything, and for other vehicles as well, and just not into the alcohol dragster ranks? Let's give him a quick second. If it continues, we may just try to reschedule it and do it again tomorrow afternoon if we keep on having interruptions for everybody. But while he's trying to get on, I'm going to go ahead and start going through some of the pictures that Mr. Griffiths has provided us today. That right there is the valve train of the alcohol dragster. I believe this picture right here was taken down in Bradenton while they were doing some testing. That's them out there at Gainesville Raceway making a pass in the car. That's what their car looks like today. You know, these things are pretty quick. A lot of people, they're all into the nitro cars and, think that they're really fast and everything. But, these cars are no slouch. They actually run the full quarter mile. And right now they're running as low as 520s. So they're not slow by no means necessary. This was a couple of years back at Gainesville Raceway. That's Ron's daughter driving the car there. And that right there, I kind of think that may be Rockingham. Probably at a Division II race. Now there's crankshaft for an alcohol dragster. The engines are pretty much the same. They're all 500 cubic inch blocks that everyone uses. Even the Pro Stock cars run 500 cubic inch motors as well. The difference maker, like Ron was saying earlier, between nitro and alcohol is, of course, the supercharger that sits on top with the injector. That is the main factor that helps those nitro cars make as much horsepower as they do. And of course, there's a set of heads that they use. Pretty nice aluminum there. Unfortunately, like we were talking earlier, they end up burning a lot of these heads up racing. I guess he's not going to be able to jump back on. So we may go ahead and just cancel the rest of the show tonight and try to reconnect and do it all over again tomorrow. I'm sorry for the inconvenience that it may have caused everybody. But I also want to let everybody know we are going to have another guest on next following Wednesday, and her name is Taylor Watson. She started out racing quarter midgets at a very young age, worked herself through quarter midgets, legends, and now she's running a truck series at New Smyrna Raceway. So we're going to talk a little bit of circle track with her next Wednesday night. And like I said, we're going to try to get Mr. Griffiths back on tomorrow. If anybody has any questions, please send them to me. Maybe we can talk a little bit about a few things. Hold on just a second. We might have a way to do this interview after all. Hey, Mr. Griffiths. Doing good.
I didn't know what to do. Just trying to pick it back up again. So I don't know what to do. You want me to get out of this and start over again, or what do we do here?
Actually, if you want to, we can just do the rest of it by telephone since I got you on the telephone.
Okay. I'm going to try the. Do you want to do it right now?
Sure, we can do it right now. I think everybody can hear you good on off the telephone.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I was talking about lightning oil connecting rods. He makes oil for every vehicle, every motor imaginable, even in shop equipment. And he has a heck of a chemical formation. He's got a good chemist, and he's a good guy. I mean, he supplied a lot of products, and he makes a lot of things. And I am so grateful that he's come aboard. But he's been with us now for about 2.5 years, I guess. And he's really he's got a heck of a product. And to compete in this world today with all these good products like they got with the technology and stuff, for him to make all of what he does, and he's a heck of a guy, you know. And we have PG LLC. They come in there when we need money to go places to buy parts with. They come in there and doing a great job. And we have Campus Outfitters here in Gainesville. They supply all our uniforms for us and outfits that we wear at the Gators and, you know, in their local town here, plus we wear them everywhere else too. And so that's what we got going for us right now. And Freddie Wiebe has been helping us out for a pretty good while, and helping us with a marketing program, put our package together. And we're trying to secure the big ones. That's what we're trying to do right now. We've had some big ones before, in Burr Energy Drink, and like I said, Lucas Oil, I've had Valvoline. And so we're going to try to get into the big business world is what we're trying to shoot for right now, because it takes a lot of money to run these cars, and you don't really realize it till you get one of these things exactly what things cost. And it has a parts appetite, which is not bad as the Top Fuel Brothers, but you just got to stay on top of things, and you need it. You know, you need help. Today is really hard to do it on your own, so that's where we're at. We're trying to make it.
Yeah, you know, we had talked, you know, the past couple of days, and you know, teams are still feeling the effects of COVID. Still today, you know, they had marketing partners all lined up for that year that COVID came out, and ended up canceling the Gator Nationals, and they wasn't able to come back until September. And you know, it's hard to lose those marketing partners when you're so close of getting them to, you know, to make the commitment to you, and then they have to pull out to protect themselves because they don't know what the ramifications are going to be with that COVID pandemic when it first started.
We were at the Gators, and we had it up on stands ready to go. And we had the Chamber of Commerce. We were to display for the Chamber of Commerce for Gainesville the night before the Gator National. That's a big event they have every year to bring all the big businesses. And we had a big company on Friday evening and on next Tuesday for a lot of money. And like I say, Thursday morning, we're sitting there on the stands, and the NHRA official comes by and says, we're done. I said, what do you mean we're done? They just closed us down. The state's closed down. I said, you're kidding me. And so Freddie made a decision. You can't ask for, companies to help you if they don't know if they're going to be in business or have a company at all, because nobody knew what was happening in the very beginning. And a lot of people hasn't recovered. Thank goodness my business has been staying steady. I mean, it was going good then, and it's still doing the same today. I don't see how it's doing that good, but I'm not questioning nobody. I'm just going along with it. And so we're still doing good. And but we haven't been able to go after any big companies because we decided to back off of the big ones and just try to get some of the little guys that can, local people that can really help us, and we help them and help our community. That was the whole thing of the Chamber of Commerce, was getting the companies, local companies, to know us, and now they know who we are. So that's where we're going with it. We're going to stay riding the horse while we can.
Right. Well, actually, David Rogers is watching from his house, and he wanted to thank you for being a guest on the show tonight. And sorry for all the technical difficulties that you're having. They happen from time to time, and we just have to deal with them. But he does have a question for you. He said, if the gas prices don't stabilize or even decrease, do you think the NHRA racing events will take a major hit?
I don't see how they don't. But I was one of my customers' son was wanting a license in the car that I built for him at the Gator. We went over to Gator National this weekend, the Gator National track, for me to sign his license. And I'm sitting there waiting for him to come in the gate, and there's motorhomes coming in, there's brand new trailers coming in. I said, holy cow, maybe we're not going to be affected as I'm thinking. And they're still doing it. And then you look at this, there were, I think, 2 or 3 sellout days at Epping this past weekend. There's a small track, but still it's a small area, and everybody was there. And I said, well, man, let's see what happens at the next one, which is Bristol, and they
right.
back fans there. So I don't know. You think it's bad, and you really think it is, but they want to go racing. And I guess last weekend it proved it. They were there in the stands, and that's what it's all about. Like this year's Gators is the biggest Gators they've had in years. Is over. I think they said 150,000 people there.
Oh yeah.
And I looked up at the stands and I said, "Holy cow!" I mean, they're here, just kind of like old times, So I don't know if they've been cooped up so long and they're wanting to get out or whatever, but they were there. And the parking lot was full. I wouldn't have went to the track being that muddy, and they were out there. The parking lot was full, mud and all, and they were there. So I can't complain,
Well, you have some really diehard race fans out there, and they want to go and support the sport. We're in a time right now that we've talked about this with other guests. We're at a time that we're having a lot of tracks close, and I think the fans are starting to see, hey, we've got to get off of our couch. Instead of watching it on TV, we've got to drive that extra hour, 2 hours to that track and go see it firsthand and buy a ticket. Because if we don't do that, there's a possibility it may be the next track that gets cut. And I think that's what we're seeing. And we're also seeing a lot more younger people coming out and supporting the sport as well. Used to you would look up in the stands, and I said this, I think last week with Roy Hill, that you would look up in the stands and see anyone from middle age and up. And there would be some kids in there here and there, but here this year, I see more participation by fans of all ages. And that's what we need for our sport. And for us to going through this hard time with, gas prices on the rise, it means a lot.
I mean, you do actually, you would think in drag racing it was made in the 50s and 60s, so they're all 75 and older now. And so you think that's all that would be there. But it's like going to a rock concert, a real good rock band. You see the little ones out there, 10, 12, 15, 16, 18 years old, where you think there would be nothing but old people there, 65 and above.
Right.
And it's not true anymore. Everybody likes what they like. In the stand, you can see them in the stand. You see, like even this weekend out there, there was young people there. I mean, they were there. They're all junior high kids, high school kids, and then there was, the older crowd that, made drag racing, and they were there. And I said, man, I guess we got hope,
Well, I think a lot of it is, you got the no prep track kings. You've got that going on TV, and that interests a lot of kids to watch it, and they're like, well, no prep track kings. Hey, this is pretty neat. I live right here in Gainesville, or I live right here in Hawthorne. They got a free testing. I mean, not a free test and tune, but they got a test and tune night at Gainesville. I think I'll go ahead and take the drive up there and try it out for myself.
Right.
And I think, with things like that being on TV, now I don't encourage, road racing of any kind. If you're going to race at the track in a closed environment where you have paramedics and firemen standing by to help you out, because accidents can happen at any time, no matter how fast or how slow the car is.
Like with our car, we won't run. We won't even crank it up if there's an ambulance up there.
Right.
We won't go down the track. We go to Braden and stuff like that to do our testing and stuff. We stay there 2 or 3 days at a time or whatever. And, the ambulance is always there. But like when you get to a national event, the helicopter's there. And that gives you a lot of relief, the helicopter being there. And that helps you out a bunch. But anything can happen. You get killed on the track, with people pulling out in front of you or whatever. So you just never know. You have to be aware. But we're in control of everything here. So we have control in our lane. In the other lane, he's prepared for his or hers. And so that's the way we look at it. You got to have a license. You got to have a FAA type physical to drive our cars. And I get mine once a year, no matter what. And so I know that I'm healthy when I go out there. And the guy in the other lane is healthy. Whoever's in the other lane is healthy. So that's what I look at more than anything. And the guy, when you go to the racetrack, you're certified to be there. He's certified to be there. Every part on your car has to be certified. And the chassis has to be inspected. So you're going to have a good deal. If anything happens, you're going to have the best chance of surviving at all. I don't expect to get hurt in one of these cars at all. I really don't. I don't see it happening. I mean, you have people wreck all the time, and every once in a while somebody does get hurt, but it's because of a parts breakage or something like that. But that does happen,
Right.
So,
you mentioned that, the safety and stuff, and unfortunately, people do get injured, and people do sometimes lose their life. But the response is really quick to find out what they can do to stop that from happening at another time. And I tell you what, the innovation of safety has came a long way. Even over the past 5 years, there has been some major changes to save people's lives in case of an accident.
Yeah. They just changed the rules on ours starting January 1st. We have to have a one-piece fire suit. Well, when my daughter drove, she always had a one-piece fire suit. So when you wear a two-piece, it kind of crawls up your back every once in a while. But then you look at it, every fireman has a two-piece suit on. And he doesn't get burned up underneath it. But when you're squatting down in the car and you're buried in there and stuff, it has a tendency to creep up your back. And then they just had a thing under. We wear, SFI 15 gloves. Well, now they want another fire retardant glove, which is mine's SFI too, that for a second set of gloves. So you're wearing 2 fire resistant gloves on now, and then they started making you wear your fireproof socks. Anyway, we never had fireproof socks before, and now they're making us do that, which that's the smartest thing to everything. I mean, now you're protected on your hands and your feet, where before you had your 15 shoes, but you didn't have the socks. Well, now the socks gives you that extra protection. Because when
Right.
your shoes melt, it's going to melt to your skin, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, so whoever come up with that deal, that was a pretty smart guy,
Well, and I think they may even make some more safety changes, even in bracket racing here in the next couple of years, because you're allowed to wear long pants,
Right.
and of course, a lot of people wear jeans.
Right.
Well, what happens to jeans when there's a fire?
Yeah, they catch on fire. I think everybody should have the SFI
It melts them to your legs.
outfit on that drives this bracket car. Period. I mean, now you see them out there in shorts and sneakers and everything else, and I think that you're just asking for trouble. You're just asking because you don't know what's on the track. I mean, somebody in front of you laid the oil down or sprayed antifreeze or water or whatever on the track. You don't know that. Nobody really sees it. And then you go out there and you spin out and crash the wall and knock the front end off, and the front end catches on fire. Well, that little bit of fire retardant outfit you have on might keep you from getting really hurt really bad.
Yeah, in jeans, if you have a fire in a car, they're mostly made of polyester and stuff in the material, and it just melts them to your legs. So imagine if you get burned, you have to go to the burn center. They have to go in there and they have to remove all that melted clothing out of your legs.
I know, it's got to be bad.
And you're right. It's got to be very, very painful to have to go through that. I mean, it's to the point that I wear jeans out there when I bracket race, but I am about to invest into at least a one layer of fire pants.
I really do. I mean, you're under 12 seconds, you need to have a fire, or even 12.90. 12 seconds is fast. I mean, when you really think about it. And I've been 270, and I've had my regular, on spice and neck braces and fire suits and all that stuff. So I know I'm doing pretty good. But when you go out there and still go 120 miles an hour, that's still fast. And then when you hit that wall, I mean, fire comes out. I mean, I think everybody should have just regular street cars. They should have that SFI 5 suit. You can get them anywhere. Even my granddaughter's fire suit, she's a 5 on her junior dragster. So, I think it should be mandatory.
Yeah, and I think they're eventually going to get there and make that rule change. And also I'll tell you another thing that I personally believe, that if you're going to be on the track, no matter how slow your car is, you should wear a helmet.
Oh yeah, the helmet's a major factor.
And it doesn't require you to wear a helmet, not unless you are quicker than 13.99 or quicker. And I hope they make that change, because a 12-second car, say it blows out a front tire, and loses control, and it happens right as you are catching the slow car, and that car veers over and hits your competitor. He has no protection whatsoever.
Anybody that goes down the track should have a helmet on, period. That's what I believe. I remember when I run competition eliminator for 30 years, and the guy, I'm not going to say his name, but he knows who he is. He's from West Palm, and he run comp. He drove 90 miles an hour everywhere he went. Well, the guy that went to help him, he wore a helmet for the whole trip. He'd pull in the parking lot there at the racetrack, they'd be taking his helmet off. I mean, that was just driving down the road. With his helmet on, and it was funny. It really was.
He was making sure that nothing was going to happen to his block.
No, he knew he drove the guy. It's funny. We go to Houston, and this from West Palm. He can get to Houston the same amount of time as it takes me to go to Houston. And he's 4 hours down the road. That's how fast he drove. And I drive 60. I don't drive faster than 60. And he would beat me there. No lie, he would pass. You know, that guy we would sit right in the front seat with his helmet on, and they'd go by me. You know?
Right.
But I'll tell you, everybody that goes down the racetrack should have a helmet on for sure. You know, say 1290 and quicker needs to have an SF5 suit on. And it's thin. It's not going to really protect you like mine does, but it's a lot less intense type of deal than we do. And it would be, I think that would be a good advantage. I really do.
Well, like David Rogers, he just said, we wasn't expecting Dale Jr. to die when he hit the wall because it really didn't look like it was that hard of an impact. But the reason that contributed to his death was that his belts were loose.
Yeah.
And I don't believe he was wearing a Hans device at the time. And now that is a major thing in all motorsports, especially pro categories, that you have to wear that Hans device to keep your neck from snapping.
Daughter, Teresa, in driving she drove our car for 20 years. I just started driving just recently, again. And I had it was called Hodgkin's device. And the guy that worked for Richard Childress designed it. I had her in that before Dale Earnhardt died. And because I know, I mean, and I think that Hutchins device is the best one. It keeps your head from going forward. It doesn't have the carbon fiber neck braces and everything else that they do today, but it was something for back then. And the guy who built my wing on my car, he was co-engineer on the Dale Earnhardt, and he told me the whole story. And I'm not going to say what it was, but anyway, it was bad. It really was.
Yeah, and what a great ambassador to NASCAR he was. I mean, you still today you'll see Dale Senior stuff everywhere.
Oh, yeah. My guy that we were teamed up together. Anyway, he worships him. He's just a young kid. He's only 32, and he was just a young kid when he was alive then, and he still worships him today.
I'll tell you what. Tell us a little bit about your chassis shop. And all the different things that you do there at Innovative Chassis Works. Which, hey, if you're looking for some stuff and he's got time, maybe he'll slide you in there and schedule you and help you out with some things.
Well, here at ICW Race Cars, it's complete race car fabrication. I've been doing this. I've been walking to work for the last 30 years, doing this professionally. And before then, I've always built my own cars. Back in the 70s, I built my own cars. But legally incorporated, I started in 92. And we do everything from top fuel cars down to funny cars. I built a couple of pro stock style cars. And I have a 49 ported here now, a 67 Chevelle, and a 67 Camaro in the shop right now. And I just got rid of a Top Sportsman nitrous injected or sprayed, or whatever we call it, on Firebird last Saturday. We got rid of that one. It went to a new home. And we just do everything, whatever you want to do. We do the suspension, do full chassis, or whatever you want to do, just give us a call.
I'll tell you, maybe that Charger keeps on getting quicker of mine, and as soon as I get another vehicle at the house for my wife to drive, I may retire that one from the streets and start doing some radical things to it. So I might have to talk to you about putting a cage in it.
Well, cage not only protects you, it takes away a lot of the stress on the car. It kind of just bonds everything together, and you don't really realize it that you put it. Like when I built my Superstock car, my first one, and we had, like, we call them slapper bars, leaf spring traction bars, and all that stuff. And you could hear it squeaking and doing this, doing that, and then I just put a full, what you could for back then, type of like a 12-point cage in it with existing chassis or frame, and it just tightened everything up. It's unbelievable, and it went so much faster being tight. And you got to have with today's tires, today's tracks and stuff. It's not like it used to be. It used to slip so much and stuff, and now it's required. I think everybody $11.99 and quicker should have just about a full cage in the car too. Because there's so much twisting and going on, and it just over a period of time it'll break.
Right. A roll cage will actually save your car from going to the junkyard from all the twisting.
I see them come in here. They don't have a full cage or chassis in it, and where the roof attaches to the quarter panel, the rear quarter panel, it's cracked across there because it's been trying to lift the front end up and it can't do it, so it just bends the body. And so you have to fix that. But that's just what goes along with the deal today in the full chassis.
Well, can you tell our viewers a little bit about how much time goes into building an alcohol dragster? You was telling me, y'all have a jig and everything that's set up, and also how important it is to get the correct bracing where it needs to be, so you can displace energy real quick.
Well, you can't go to school for this. There's no school. You just got to know the technology, and every bar has to be in a certain spot, and the car knows. The car we have now is 300 inches long, and it knows an up or a crossbar knows an eighth of an inch. The car will know it, and you don't think it matters, but it does. One time it'll go this way, and one time it'll go that way, and then it'll go this, that, and the other, and it just do stupid things. And then you find out that somebody who built the car before didn't really know the geometry. And there's one that come in here today. Somebody else did the back half. He was telling me on the phone before he ever brought it to me what it was doing, and I told him what it was, where it was at, where all the bars was, and the rear end and everything. He says, "How do you know that?" I said, "Well, that's what I do." And so it's here. So I got to just cut up the whole back end and start all over again. But a dragster or funny car, every design that I've done is my design. I haven't copied nobody over the years. And like on a top fuel car, my car techs in at a top fuel chassis, and you only allowed the 5 different ways to build a car, but they don't tell you where to put the uprights at. They don't tell you that it just has to be a certain diameter and a certain thickness and stuff like that. But they don't tell you. You have to know that on your own. And the car that I had now, it was like I designed that thing like for 5 years before I actually built it. And over the last car we had before that, I thought I knew what I was doing. Really had the technology down. And I put this one together. It was like 3/10 quicker first pass. So holy cow! It's really amazing that technology's gone that far.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that 3/10 is a lot.
And they're going down the track, and you can hear them go. That's the chassis breaking loose as they go down the track, because all the geometry is wrong. And that's what was wrong with this guy's car here. The geometry was wrong on it, and they kept putting more power to it, so it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And you always want more car than you have motor. You see some of these people, all these no preps and stuff, they got 500 shot of nitrous, and they got basically a street car running no prep. And it's amazing that they twist them things and they get with it and stuff. But a car, it'll tell you if it's wrong or not.
Now, I'm going to show a picture to our viewers of a truck that y'all worked on for a gentleman. And tell us a little bit about this story.
Okay, I don't have no internet. I have internet here, but I don't have you back on here.
I'm bringing up the truck that the gentleman races out there in Texas and Baja.
Oh, okay, the off-road truck, yeah. That truck is we call it job security. Is when they take them trucks, they go over boulders, rocks, they jump them, and he tells me how far they jump. I said, "You're kidding me." And they go out to these races, and then they have I'm gonna call it a co-pilot, which they call it a guy that tells you where to go and everything else like that. And It's really fascinating to hear his stories. I've never been to one of them races before. So every time he goes, I know it's coming back here because there's tubes cracked on it, and it's made out of best aircraft tubing you can buy. It's usually inch and 5/8 083. The whole truck is made out of it, and it's really fascinating to let him tell you the stories in the dust and the dirt. It's just amazing that it can last through all that stuff. And now he's putting a big motor in it now, and they have a good time. They actually have a really good time with that, because it's individually run kind of like a drag race, but it's all in sections. But you can still pass somebody,
Right.
but it's all they're all kind of segregated one at a time, and and they get there whenever they get there. And,
Yeah, they're pretty much set up like.
I got you back online now.
All right.
Can we hang up on the phone?
Sure.
Okay.
There we
Okay.
go.
There we go. Now we're better. There we go.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah, it's pretty much just like rally racing in a way where they have their stages that they have to go through, and they start them off at different times, but they can actually catch up to the next vehicle and go ahead and pass them. And I tell you what, it's fascinating to watch. I've actually watched some of the Baja racing on TV, and wow, some of the things that they do with those trucks, it's just amazing.
But he shows me pictures of the rocks they jumped over and stuff. Ours are set. The track is totally smooth. There ain't a rock on that track. I mean, it's perfect. It's groomed and everything. It's nothing groomed in his outfit at all.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's amazing what they do. And I tell you, if anybody's on here has never watched anything like that, the next time it comes on TV, hey, sit down,
I would
get you a cold beverage, and enjoy it.
It's entertainment. I mean, it really is. I mean, like you watch a NASCAR race. Okay, you got 500 miles of going around the same place. That's not the way it is with them Baja trucks. I mean, they really get with the program. It's a shame that they couldn't race in a circle.
Right.
With all different terrain and stuff, because the spectators would really enjoy something like that. And they only have the spectators at certain places on the thing, and then you only see them for a split second, because they're gone. He tells me they goes up there like 120 miles an hour, and I think I said, holy moly, I mean, and he took me for a ride, and when we repaired it one time, he says, I'll take you for a ride. I said, well, hang on now, He said, you can drive it. I said, no, I'm not driving this thing. I said, you drive it, So we went down my drive, and you know how long my drive is. It's 800 feet long. I don't know how fast we were going. We were going probably about 90, I guess, down my drive. And it was just smooth as silk. It was just going over all the bumps, all the sand. And it's really amazing that you can engineer something out like that will really go across rough terrain.
Well, I'll tell you, now they have super trucks that they race, and it's pretty amazing to see those. They actually set up ramps and stuff that they have to jump on, kind of like a road course. And basically probably almost the same type of engineering that goes into those Baja trucks is they incorporated over to that super truck series that they run. But speaking back on drag racing, when do you think that you'll be back racing? Probably next year at the Gators?
Well, no, not really. What we're everything depends on this, how we are doing, whether we get some funding and stuff. And I'm shooting for September. There's Charlotte in September, and then Dallas is like 19 hours away. So I don't know if we go to Dallas or not, because all our close races are already over with now. And but I'm got the motor part. I'm servicing the motor. We put new pistons in it, and new this and new that, and new camshaft design. And we need to run it some, so we'll take it down to Braden and run it for a couple of days and make sure we get back on our tune-up. But that's kind of the goal we're shooting for, and see what happens towards the end of the year. And then you actually, when you have the holidays, you don't really have a holiday. It's just that's when you're starting to prepare to go over for the season again. And so if we get to go to them, that's what we're shooting for. We're hoping that we can go to them races in September and October.
Yeah, I tell you what, that would be Ennis, correct? That y'all would be going to Ennis, Texas,
right? Mm-hmm. Which is outside of Waco.
Which is, of course, we don't have Houston no more. It's gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've been going to Houston since I think the 87, I think was the first race. We were there for the first race. We run comp eliminator then. Then we won one year. We were running, and they had a front coming down, and it dropped to like 30 or 40 degrees in like an hour and a half. And NHRA.com just did a story on it not too long ago about how much ice, and they didn't actually snow there, but when we left, there was ice on the bridges already. That's how cold it got. We about froze to death because we're from Florida. We don't have no heater.
Right.
You know? We have air conditioning and stuff. And we were all bundled up in the trailer trying to figure out what we're going to do. We're going to try to outrun it or what we're going to try to do. So they canceled the race at like 3:00 or something like that on Saturday. They said, we're done. We can't do it. And we left before it actually froze over. We didn't know when we were going to get out of there. But we've been going there in Houston for a long time. It's a good track.
David Rogers actually has a question for you.
Okay.
He would like to know, what driver did you look up to when you were growing up, and to model yourself after?
Well, of course, everybody believes in Bill Jenkins. He's the father of the Chevrolet motor, and he made it what it is today. So I had his book. I read that book 50 times. And I had a Monza at the same time. My first comp car was a Monza, and he had the Vegas and the Monzas. But when he made the Monzas, I copied that to exactly like him. That's who I kind of modeled after, and that's why I run comp for so long. When we got into the A Fuel car, that was my daughter's deal. She was buddies with Kristen Powell, and she had an A Fuel car. But Kristen Powell was a couple years older than her, so she had to wait till she was 17. 17 is when we got her in the first A Fuel car. And so basically, it was her idea to go to this, and then I tried to run both cars. You can't run a comp car and an A Fuel car together. The A Fuel car is so much more complicated. So
Right.
I run it up until about, I guess it's probably about 03, I guess, when I finally sold it. And I'm a comp car. And this is her deal, and this is her car. It still is her car. Still is. I'm just a temporary driver till she comes back, is what I'm hoping for. And but she was in it for over 20 years driving, so she's had enough, And my granddaughter's in competitive cheer, so she's got more than just me to worry about. So
Right.
I had to take back over again. And when she had her my two grandkids, I took over during that time. So it's not that I'm, not had drove one of these things for a while, but it took me a little while to get back to it, because last time I drove, we've almost doubled the horsepower on these things here. And it took me I think about 8 passes to be able to try to get back to where I thought I would be halfway safe. And these things are, now it's running, we did some things to the chassis to make it better because we've improved the horsepower by so much. And now the thing drives like a Cadillac now. It really is fun to drive. It is fun to drive right now.
Now, with David asking you who you looked up to and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
who do you enjoy racing? Who do you like to race against over in the other lane?
I love Artie Allen. Artie Allen, his family does. We run. It was funny. Every time we pull up there, we just about run each other. We run each other again at the Gators this year and the points race. And but he's just that's what race. If everybody was like Artie Allen, we'd have a whole different outfit going on.
Yeah, he is a super nice guy. I've known him for quite a few years, and watched his daughter race in the juniors, and now she has moved up and running in the Lucas Oil Series. And I asked her, I said, when are you going to move up and get into the alcohol dragster? And she just laughed, She says, whenever Dad says I'm ready.
Right. Yeah.
I'll
tell you a little story. We were running each other when I think it was when my grandson was when Sharisa was pregnant with him. I had to drive in Valdosta. Well, I never drove one of them safety devices. It's called Safety Solutions. It's I made Sharisa wear. It's the one that goes around the neck, comes up between your legs, goes twice around your stomach and your chest. And so I had her strapped in, right? So that's all that I had to run. So I never had one of them before. So I get down to the other end of the track, and I'm running Artie for qualifying. Well, he's in front of me. Anyway, I go to pull out of there, and I lean forward real hard, and it snatches your head back. That's what it's made to do, is snatch your head back. My eyes got big as saucers. He said, Ron's in trouble. He just comes, no lie, he comes out of that car like Superman, right? And he strapped in, got all his stuff on too, and to pull me out of my car. But it just startled me because I've never had to wear any of that. We just wore a neck brace. We didn't wear nothing
Right.
like that. And it straps your head. You can't do nothing. You're not going to get hurt. And so like I said, my eyes were big as saucers, and Ron's in trouble. He just comes to my calling there. He saved me. That's how already is. That's already.
Yeah, it's always nice to see them and stuff. And of course, we don't see them as much now out of the track because, his daughter's running Lucas and she doesn't bracket race anymore. But I wish them all the luck and success as well. Where do you see the sport going in the alcohol dragster class?
Well, what's brought this class around is people. Didn't never like it in the beginning, but you got to look at the future of the sport. You're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it for the sport. They've had a lot of rental drivers come in. They rent the ride because this is very complicated and very hard. People don't really realize how much work actually goes into one of these things, and your tune-up, and how only the fact when you see somebody go out, a teen out there, a low 20, they got their act together, okay? And it takes so long to get that. You just don't do it overnight. I've been doing this thing for 20 years, and I still am not there yet,
Right.
And I've had help over the years. I've had some bad help. I've had some good help, and right now I got some good help. So that's why we're looking forward to what we're getting ready to do. But you have to have these new blood, we call them new blood, and they have money because they're renting the car. So when they rent the car, they're giving that person money, so he buys better equipment. So when you look at it that way, the sport is going to grow. So I look down the chart and see how many people actually own their cars out of 16 cars. And now it's probably 4 people that actually own their cars, me and Artie and Tom Fox, and then Samsel. And there's just a few other people that actually, you might get 5 or 6 of them out of 16, but they're renting their ride because that's the way they can afford to do it.
Right.
Because it just to crank this thing up, I mean, you don't even want to know how much money this thing costs. And I had a guy come in the shop. He says, "How much does this thing cost to run?" And I said, "Well, the drum of fuel is this, the oil is that, that's that, this is that, and the other." And I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars just to crank it up. And then you have your truck, and then you have your trailer, then you have your inventory, then you have your spare motors, and you don't really, your spare tires and wheels. And wheels is really ridiculous now in price because it's all billet aluminum and all they call the SFI certifications because they've had wheels break. And you know what happens when one breaks? It's lights out, buddy.
Yeah.
It's lights out. I'm a Goodyear guy, and we run Goodyears forever. Anyway, Hoosier come out with a tire. And I said, and I've run Hoosiers on my Super Comp car and top dragsters and stuff like that, so I didn't really think nothing of it. So we got them at the Gators. First pass, we were qualified 10th and stuff. And then IHRA was starting their pro fuel thing up, and they've been begging us since like the year before to come run it because they wanted Sharissa to run. And, they wanted a girl. And so we said, okay, we put them on. We put them on, qualified 10th, and then we went to Rockingham, which is a couple of weeks later. First pass that shredded the tire, and it just blew up. And no lie, one of the tires went probably 500 feet in the air. It was up so high, and we said, "That's it."
Yeah.
It's Goodyear or nothing, and things like that happen. But you got to, like I say, the wheels, the tires, and everything. The technology is so much. I don't see how you can start anything, cold start any business in racing today. You got to have something to start off of. Because the technology is like with the Goodyear tires. I remember when they were blowing them up left and right, they finally found out the cord needed to be a different type of cord in it to keep them together. And I guess Hoosier didn't figure that out, I guess, and they put that tire. It was nothing but the bead left on the bead lock.
Wow.
And I mean, I was on the starting line, listen, and what it did, it about 700 feet, 900 feet or something like that. It blew up, and she drove through it, did everything she was supposed to do, pulled the chutes, turned the motor off, shut the fuel off, and chutes saved the car and saved my daughter. So things happen, They don't.
And you have to react so quick.
Yep.
You got to have a fast reaction to everything.
Mm-hmm.
If not, it can.
Well, that's what makes this sport
live or die.
I used to stock car race and stuff back in the 70s and stuff. I mean, you can make it back up a next lap. You can make it another lap. You can make it up. Drag racing, if you're not 150%, when you go down track, you're losing, or you're not going to run fast, or something's going to go wrong. And you got to be 150% committed when you make it go down the track. That's like when you see people stage and stuff. They stage and they wait there they're trying to get their thoughts together. Some people, they can just bump right in there and go. It's no big deal. But you got to be committed. And you got to be quick, or you're going to lose it. Like we were running and stuff, and the thing starts shaking, and all of a sudden it takes a right hand turn or takes a left hand turn, and you got to know which way to turn the steering wheel. And that's only from experience.
Right.
That's all that's from.
And you have to make small increments with
Right.
that wheel. I mean, you just can't torque it over left and right.
Well, dragster
is that correct on a dragster?
A dragster is finesse, okay, and it's very small increments of movement, because it's rack opinion. It's direct drive. Your steering boxes, they're like 13-1. I mean 12-1, and but a funny car or an altered is like 15-1. They slow the steering down to try to keep you from overcorrecting. But like a real funny car, like a fuel funny car, you gotta get after it. I mean, you gotta grab it. You gotta be in shape. And you see all these people starting to work out now. I mean, look at Matt Hagan. I mean, he looks like Charles Atlas,
Right.
And because that's actually what it takes to do it. And I remember sending Courtney Force into the working out, and then she was in tremendous shape, and she could handle the car. But you got to really handle a funny car. But a dragster's more finesse, and you get but a dragster always tells you what it's going to do. A funny car doesn't tell you nothing. I was watching, we call him Peanut, anyway, that runs funny car. I noticed this weekend he went all the way over, and the other guy's laying up against the wall and then back. Anyway, that's where the car wanted to go, and that's where it went. He couldn't stop it.
Right.
And that's why you got to be really, really quick.
So with all that being said, your next race is going to be Charlotte. That's what y'all are shooting for.
That's what we're shooting for, is trying to winter meets. It depends on, we can get funding. We're working on funding now. We got some companies that we're talking to, and but they're kind of the wait and see type of thing right now, is what everybody we're talking to is wait and see.
Well, I am going to do my best to try to get up to Charlotte for that race. Yeah. I wanted to go up there, for the 4 wides, a couple, I guess about a month or so ago. And so now my plan is try to get up there in September, try to get around, talk to some people, some personnel, try to line up some shows with them, and try to also give a lot of feedback on our page, on our Facebook page. Mm-hmm. So it's very possible, maybe if y'all make it up there, maybe I can stop by and do some record some video from y'all while y'all working on the engine, tearing down and getting it ready for the next round.
That'd be wonderful.
David wants to know, what is your best track? What track do you like out of all the tracks that you've raced at?
I don't know. I mean, Indy is wonderful, and San Antonio was nice. Tucson, we won Tucson, and Tucson was nice. There's a lot of nice tracks, there really is, and there's really no bad tracks anymore that we go to. I mean, but in the beginning, you went to a lot of bad tracks, but that's just what it was back then, because nobody really new with the concrete mix and the asphalt mix and getting everything right. I mean, you have a couple of tracks that are martyred, like Bristol is beautiful. I mean, that track was like a sheet of glass. And then it started sinking down a little bit when they put the tunnel underneath the track. So it started sinking a little bit. And, but we run in Martin, Michigan. Martin, Michigan was nice. And it was nice and long. And the track was smooth. It's actually just a lot of good tracks out there right now. And you go down like with the Gainesville track, that's been marketed as the best track in the country forever, and it is. I mean,
I am just happy it's in my backyard.
Yeah, that's the advantage you need to take up. That's why we don't go anywhere else. We're going to go to these two races here, and that's the way we were this year. We just go to these two and see what happens with everything, and then how everything's been tanking, and so we decided to keep her in operation here for a while.
Now, you've raced at Rockingham.
Oh yeah, I actually got runner-up at the national event there back in the '80s for my CED car.
Well, we just lost him again. Well, we're getting in down to the end of the show, and I tell you, I want to thank Mr. Ron Griffiths for coming on, and I want to thank everyone bearing with us through all the technical difficulties tonight. So we can bring you this show. I do want to remind everybody, don't forget next Tuesday night On the Spot with David Rogers, not On the Spot Motorsports, but On the Spot with David Rogers. They are going to have the Bradford High School football coach, Jamie Rogers, join them for an interview. So if you want to tune in over there with them and listen a little bit about football, do so. Their show starts at 7 p.m. as well. Of course, I want to thank a great friend of mine, and I want to throw his business up here. Kirk Miracle Automotive and Towing. Don't pray for a miracle, call Miracle. So keep them in mind when you start having issues with your vehicle. Miracle Automotive, located in Stark. Telephone number 904-368-1114.
No, we made it back.
Yeah, I was just telling everybody we're probably getting ready to shut down the show for tonight, and I want to thank you personally for coming on and spending some time with us and talking a little bit about Alcohol Dragster and racing it, your chassis shop, and all the things that you do. And I tell you, we would love to have you on at a different time.
Yeah, anytime you want to do this, just give me some notice, and that's all I need.
Maybe when we start getting closer to Charlotte, maybe I can come out there to your shop and talk to you a little bit, take some video there, and hopefully you make the trip up there to Charlotte and watch y'all race.
I'll be welcome to that. No problem whatsoever. You just let me know, and we'll set up a time and get it done.
Well, I thank you, and I hope you keep on tuning in with us from time to time. Like I said, next Wednesday night, we're going to have that young lady on, Taylor Watson, that's running up in New Smyrna in the truck series. Mm-hmm. And the next following Wednesday, I think the 22nd, we're going to try to have George Bryce on. We're going to talk a little bit about Pro Stock Motorcycle. He actually ran Funny Bike back in the day before motorcycles became Pro Stock Motorcycles. We're going to talk about also his business that he has. It's wonderful business, Star Racing, where they make cams and all different types of parts and pieces for Milwaukee 8s. That is one of the big things that they're concentrating on right now. So if you have one of those motorcycles, you might want to tune in for a little bit of tech. And also you can catch him on his personal page, George Bryce, and he does Tech Talk Tuesday. So you might want to go over there and watch his show, but we're looking forward to having him on the 22nd. Mm-hmm. You know Mr. George Bryce.
Oh, yeah. I've known him for a long time. He's a nice guy and is very, very intelligent.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about what he's doing with Star Racing. You know, they're making a lot of parts for those Milwaukee 8s. And also talk about the old days before Pro Stock Motorcycle was really a thing. We're going to talk about Funny Bike and that's where he actually got started, was running funny bike, and then it went over to Pro Stock, and then he became a owner. It was called Star Racing. He has since retired as an owner, but we're going to talk about all that and the different riders that he had over the years, and some of those names is going to come out. It's going to be Angel Sampé. You're going to hear about Steve Johnson. The list goes on. Michael Ray. And a lot of those have actually done very well after they had left George Bryce and went out on their own and racing for other race teams, and actually coming up with their own race team, like Corey Reed. Corey Reed ran for him a year and formed their own Pro Stock motorcycle team. So hope y'all continue to join us. And again, I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties that we had tonight. And just bear with us. We're going to continue getting this show better and better each week. And also, don't forget to follow us on the weekends, because on the weekends during the racing season, while we're out at Gainesville Raceway, we will live stream those races from the track. And right now, I'm trying to work on talking to our Division II director, Cody Savage, and see if it's very possible that we can live stream the Summit Racing Divisional Bracket Race there at South Georgia Motorsports Park. So working on all of those details as well and getting those logistics put in place. And Mr. Griffiths, like I was telling everybody else, you're more than welcome to join in and watch us as I live stream the races from Gainesville Raceway. We actually have some really big events that will be coming up at the end of the year that we'll be live streaming. We'll be live streaming the 352 Shootout, which is always filled with a bunch of different types of vehicles, a bunch of classes Derek Putnam has added in over the years. And Grant Guthrie, he has stepped on board, and he is going to help bring in the no-time truck class. And these trucks are fast, ladies and gentlemen. You have never seen anything. If you have not been at the track and seen these things run, you'll be very, very impressed on what they do. And of course, Grant Guthrie will have Lyle Barnett come in and drive his truck, Warpath. So a lot of people know about Warpath. You can actually go on YouTube and punch in Warpath, and it will take you to the page, and sit back and relax and watch it. Those are the type of trucks that will be running in that no-time truck class. Another thing that's on the agenda that will be happening, No One Fights Alone. That's a race that is coming out, and it's actually to help support St. Jude's. So we are actually going to take a little bit of a seat back and kind of help out on the pricing of the live streaming of that event. And of course, we got the Horsepower Hustle that will be coming in December. I think it's going to be December the 9th and 10th at Gainesville Raceway. All nothing but motorcycles. So if you love motorcycle drag racing, that'll be the time to tune in and watch live action from Gainesville Raceway. But until then, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Mr. Griffiths for coming on and joining us tonight. And like I said, please continue following us. We always like to try to keep everyone updated on what's happening in the NHRA and NASCAR. And sometimes we even will dip over a little bit into Indy and Formula One. But until next Wednesday, thank you for joining us, and we will see you then.